Okay, so the experiment has been swapped in and modified, and you can see that now I have three nodes in the experiment: the router, client, and server. You cannot really see that they have a LAN between the router and the client because there's only one node. Uh, there's only one link with two nodes. So it kind of looks like link in this picture, but if I had multiple clients, I would have, um, it would be obvious that they have a LAN. So now we want to go back to our queue format, and we want to make sure that we initialize the router in a way that was described here. So again, going back to my client machine and going back into this folder where there's code that I want to use for replay, and looking at the guidance, it tells me that I need to run install router, and I need to provide the server IP, and then on server I need to run fixed routing and then supply any client IP so that the server learns how to fix routing for that client. And so I'm going to change my Due scripts to do that. And I can do that maybe in the beginning even. I can say router, I want to run install router, and when I finish it, I will emit R done. And then when that is done, I will proceed with server installation. And so now I need to define what that means. So install router means that I will go into this DNS replay client, and I will run sudo bash install router sh, and then I need to provide server IP. If my experiment has not been swapped in, I don't know what the server IP will be. So what I'm going to say, if I look at here, show special functions, I can say I want the experimental IP on this node leading to some other node. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to say experimental IP leading to the server node. Okay, and then when this happens, when this finishes, then I can proceed. So I called my action install router, and I'm going to wait for it to successfully finish before I move on. The other thing I have to do is I have to install the server. I have to do something on the server to fix the routing. So I'm going to add that too. I'm going to add it here. So I will say when I install router, well, I actually don't have to be dependent on that. I can do that in parallel. So I can do server fix routing, emit fix done, for example. And then when those two are done, I can proceed with the rest of my workflow. So I can say when I fixed the routing and I fixed the and I fixed it on the router and I fixed it on the server, I can continue and do other things. Okay, and so now I have to say what fixed routing means. And again, I'm going to use, so it tells me here that I need to run Perl fixed routing and then provide any client IP. And I'm running it on the server node. Maybe it needs sudo, I'm not sure, but I think it does, so I'm just going to put it there. Because it will touch the routing tables, which usually need sudo access. And so I need the IP address of the client. And again, if I haven't swapped in, I don't know that, but I can see here that there's a special function IPA, which will give me at runtime the IP address of a given node. So I'm going to use that. I will say IP client. And when that completes, so when there is P success, for that action, which I called fix routing, I can proceed with my workflow. So I'm now going to save and export this into bash file, and then I'm going to try if it works. And so you can see that here again I have these two files. And I'm going to copy this run main over. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the dir again, and I'm going to try to run. And I'm going to call it something like more complex. So let's see if it runs and if it breaks, where it breaks. So we can see something is happening. It's modifying routing. And it's installing some packages. So that's promising. Pretty soon you will have a way to kind of highlight where you are, and you will be able to run from this UI, so you will be able to see what's going on. But right now I just can tell based on the logs that based on the output that I see that we are past this. We went into the server installation, so what I added worked, and I know that the rest of it works all the way up until run client, which is what we will do next. Okay, and so if I now look at the logs, I can see that everything ran with the status 0, which means that everything worked. I can also print the error messages to see if there's anything that I should worry about, and I can see some warnings, but nothing really to indicate that anything failed. Okay, and so the last thing I want to do then is define this run client sh, which currently doesn't exist.